The kitchen was quiet. The hum of the refrigerator blended with the faint clink of Tom's beer bottle as he set it on the granite countertop. Claire stood across from him, arms crossed. Her auburn hair caught the late afternoon sun streaming through the window. She'd been pacing for 10 minutes. Her steps were hesitant, her brow furrowed. Finally, she stopped. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "I've been thinking, Tom," she said. Her tone was uncertain, lacking the conviction she'd rehearsed in her head. "I've been reading books, articles, and stuff Jessica's been sending me about how women have been trapped by expectations forever. Marriage and monogamy might just be a way to keep us small. I don't know. I'm wondering if I need to explore, to date other people to figure out who I am." Tom stared at her. His hand tightened around the cold bottle, condensation slick against his palm. 8 years of marriage flashed through his mind. Coffee mornings, late-night talks, a mortgage they'd signed with nervous grins. At 38, an accountant in Sacramento, he thrived on routine. Claire, 36, worked part-time at a boutique and spent her free time on social media or with Jessica, her college roommate turned influencer of chaos. This wasn't Claire talking. It was Jessica's voice in her mouth. "You're not sure?" he asked. His voice was low, his blue eyes searching hers. "You want to date other guys because of some nonsense you saw on TikTok?" Claire bit her lip and glanced away. "I don't know, Tom. It's not about you. It's about me. Jessica says I've never lived for myself. She keeps saying I'm suffocating here, that I owe it to myself to break free." "Jessica," Tom muttered. His jaw tightened. Jessica was tall, blonde, and a serial divorcee living off alimony in a downtown loft. She had a knack for sowing doubt in Claire. Last month, she'd convinced Claire to blow $200 on a healing crystal seminar. Now this came up. "I just need to talk to her more," Claire said, softer now. "She's been through this. She gets it." Tom took a slow sip of his beer. The bitterness mirrored the twist in his gut. "Claire, the only thing Jessica is an expert on is divorce. She's had 2 of them." He sighed and closed the distance between them. "Talk to me instead. We're married, Claire. What's this really about?" She hesitated. Her resolve wavered. "I don't want to lose you, Tom. But I feel lost. Maybe I just need time." For the first time in their relationship, Tom stared into the face of his wife and realized that he didn't know her, and he found it frightening. Later that evening, Tom sat alone in their living room. The TV was muted, casting flickering shadows across the walls. Claire had left to meet Jessica. Her Prius had crunched gravel as it pulled out. He replayed her words. Explore. Date other people. A hollow ache spread through his chest. Was he not enough? He'd built this life for them with steady paychecks, a tidy house, and quiet nights with takeout and Netflix. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe steady wasn't enough for her anymore. He grabbed another beer and cracked it open with a hiss. He stared at their wedding photo on the mantel. Claire beaming, him awkward but happy. Had he missed something? Had she been drifting away for years, and he'd been too buried in spreadsheets to notice? He texted her, "Let's talk when you're back." "I don't get this." No reply came. The silence gnawed at him, feeding a flicker of doubt. Maybe he should have pushed harder and demanded answers. But that wasn't him. He fixed problems with logic, not shouting matches. Still, as the clock ticked past midnight and she didn't return, he wondered if his quiet patience was just cowardice in disguise. That night, Claire met Jessica at a rooftop bar downtown. The city lights glittered below as Jessica leaned in. Her wine glass dangled between manicured fingers. "You're too good for that boring life, Claire," she said. Her voice was smooth and insistent. "Tom's a nice guy, sure, but he's holding you back. You're 36, in the prime of your life, and you're playing housewife? I've been free since my second divorce, and it's everything." Claire had doubts. After so many years of a seemingly good marriage, who wouldn't? Of course, that was the problem. Everything seemed good, at least on the surface. Below that, however, Claire was a bubbling cauldron of discontent. She wasn't smart enough to realize that Jessica was the one stirring the pot. "Pay for the tab tonight, yeah?" "I'm short." Claire nodded and pulled out her card. Her bank account was already stretched from covering Jessica's girls' nights lately. "But what if Tom's right? What if this is a mistake?" she asked her friend. Jessica laughed. The sound was sharp and dismissive. "He's scared of losing control. Men always are. Trust me, you'll thank me when you're living your truth. Let's get another round." A few nights later, Claire lay awake in a stranger's bed. The guy, Mark, was someone she'd met on Tinder. Broad shoulders, a salesman's grin, his apartment cluttered with gym gear and empty beer cans. The encounter had been disappointing and hollow, leaving her staring at the ceiling as he snored beside her. Her phone glowed on the nightstand. There was a missed call from Tom, no voicemail. Guilt twisted in her gut, sharp and cold. She pictured him at home, alone, probably sipping that same IPA, waiting for her to explain herself. He didn't deserve this. But then Jessica's voice echoed in her head. "You've been chained to his routine. Break free. Live for you." She rolled over and stared at Mark's back. She whispered to herself, "This is my right. I'm reclaiming myself." The words felt hollow, a script she didn't fully believe. Her heart tugged her toward Tom. Their quiet mornings, his steady hands fixing the leaky sink. But Jessica's mantra drowned it out. "Monogamy's a trap. You're a goddess, not a wife." She squeezed her eyes shut, torn between the ache of betraying Tom and the rush of defying everything she'd been taught to value. Claire sat Tom down again a week later. Her uncertainty had hardened. Jessica's words were now her armor. "I've decided," she said, avoiding his gaze. "I'm going to date other people. I need this." Tom leaned back. His tone was sharp. "You're serious? You're throwing us away for Jessica's nonsense?" "It's not nonsense," Claire snapped. Her hands trembled. "It's about me. Jessica says ... "Forget Jessica," Tom cut in. "This is our life, not hers. Be real, Claire, you're leaving our marriage to be her puppet." "I'm not leaving," Claire said, softer. "I just need space. I don't want to lose you, Tom. I just need this." Tom's eyes narrowed. "If you're dating, you're not living here. Pack your stuff." Claire froze. Her breath caught. "Tom, wait. Can't we talk about this?" "You've talked enough," he said. He turned away, his voice cold. "Go." She packed that night. Her Prius was loaded with a suitcase and duffel as she drove to Jessica's loft. She texted Tom, "I'm sorry. I don't want it to end like this." He didn't reply. Tom didn't sleep. He sat in the living room. The TV flickered silently, his mind racing. He wasn't about to demean himself by pleading with Claire to reconsider her choices, but he was conflicted in what to do. Claire's texts gnawed at him. She didn't want to lose him, he thought. Maybe she'd come around. The next morning, he stood in the kitchen and stared at her empty coffee mug on the counter. He could still smell her lavender shampoo lingering in the bathroom. Was he wrong to kick her out? Maybe he should have fought harder and begged her to stay. But the image of her exploring other relationships burned in his skull. His stomach churned. He opened his cell phone and dialed a contact he'd been using a lot recently. At least ever since Claire started talking about her modern marriage feminist finding, her self-nonsense. Vince Moretti was an old college buddy, a divorce lawyer, and if Tom was honest, a bit of a sleazebag. Not the kind of guy you'd trust around women and children, but the kind of guy you'd like to have on your side in a fight. "Tom?" Vince answered. "You finally got your head out of your rear about Claire?" Tom sighed. Vince wasn't one to mince words. I need options." She told me she's going to date other men, but she keeps telling me that she loves me and that she doesn't want to lose our marriage. I don't know what to do." Tom couldn't see it, but Vince had raised his glasses and was rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Some guys," he thought to himself, "it's like they can't help being naive." Vince liked Tom, always had, ever since college. But the man was a hopeless pushover. Like a lot of men in his generation, he had been a product of divorce and raised by a single mom. A combination of a lack of male influence and fear of instability had left him emotionally stunted, pliable, and a bit of a people-pleaser. Vince knew how to handle this. "She's playing you, Tom, but if you're soft, wait it out. She'll show her hand." Tom's face screwed up in a grimace. He knew Claire was playing him, could feel it on a visceral level, but still, couldn't bring himself to admit it. The rest of the conversation was unproductive, with Vince telling Tom to call him back when he finally grew a backbone. If only it was that easy. For weeks, Tom wavered. Claire called. Her voice was shaky. "I miss you, Tom. I'm not sure I'm doing the right thing." He softened and texted back, "Come home. We can figure it out." She'd reply, "Soon. I just need a little more time." Each exchange left him second-guessing. Was he a fool to hope? Should he let her go or dig in? He spent nights pacing the house, replaying their last fight, wondering if he'd pushed her away by not being enough, exciting enough, loud enough, anything enough. Then, it happened. One Friday, Tom's co-workers had convinced him to shake off his morose attitude and hit the bars with him for some much-needed after-work drinks. They were sitting in the window of an upscale Irish pub when across the street he spotted Claire at a club, laughing with Jessica and a guy in a leather jacket. His every instinct told him to get up, rush into the club and grab Claire by the arm, take her home, force her to see reason, plead with her, beg her, anything. A cute girl from reception tried to catch his attention, but Tom blew her off, his eyes focused like a laser on the club across the street. His heart sank as they stumbled out later. In the parking lot, he saw her get into a car with the guy. Without even realizing it, he stood and left, brushing past his co-workers and headed for the door. It was only by some miracle that he wasn't flattened by a truck as he shambled across the busy street, his eyes locked on the late-model Toyota as it started to rock back and forth. The last thing Tom remembered of that night was his eyes locking with Claire's through the window of the car. She froze, her face a mixture of shock and shame. Tom simply ran away. Her calls and texts buzzed his phone late into the morning hours and most of the next day, but Tom never answered. Claire stumbled into Jessica's loft. Her lipstick was smeared, her blouse wrinkled from the encounter. The guy, Jake, was a bartender with tattoos and a lazy smirk. The experience had been rough and meaningless, nothing like Tom's loving touch. She'd felt a thrill at first and told herself this was freedom. But as she'd locked eyes with Tom through that window, the thrill curdled into nausea. She collapsed on Jessica's couch, sobbing. "He saw me, Jess. Tom saw me with him." Jessica poured her a vodka and shrugged. "So what? He's your past. You're a liberated woman now. Own it." "But I hurt him," Claire whispered. She clutched the glass. "I saw it in his face." Jessica rolled her eyes. "Guilt's a patriarchal tool, Claire. You don't owe him your life. You're breaking the mold. Feminism means taking what you want." Claire downed the vodka. The burn numbed her throat, but not her conscience. She wanted to believe Jessica. This was her awakening, her power. But the memory of Tom's wounded eyes haunted her. She'd traded his quiet love for this chaotic freedom. It felt like ash in her mouth. She had known this for a while, and if she was being entirely honest, she had known it before she had even left their home. She tried to call Tom, but he never picked up, sent him dozens of texts that went unanswered, each minute of his silence making her stomach do flips. She knew she had to do something, but she couldn't. So ultimately, she just kept going, kept swiping and kept dating, chasing the high to drown out her guilt and shame. The next morning, Tom sat across from Vince Moretti in a diner off Interstate 80. The air was thick with grease and the clatter of plates. Vince, with slicked back hair and a shark's grin, sipped his coffee, black as his suit. Tom's own cup steamed untouched. His hands were clenched on the table. "She's done," Tom said. His voice was low and hard. "I saw her last night in the back seat of some guy's car. She's not coming back. Hell, she was never coming back, was she?" Vince raised his cup of coffee and took a sip. "No, Tom. She was never coming back. No woman makes a declaration like that to a man they really love. Hell, they'd be too afraid to even think about it." Tom nodded. It was something he had ignored, a part of his personality that was hard for him to accept. He had been shaped at an early age by the trauma of divorce, and then further warped by the individual failures of his parents. The absence of his father from his life, precipitated more than a little by his mother's demands for custody and child support, left him bereft of any semblance of a male role model. His mother and her never-ending parade of failed relationships, always complaining about men, deeply influenced him. Tom didn't want to be one of those guys, the ones that his mother complained about. He wanted to be one of the good ones, and in his mind, good ones didn't rock the boat, even if they were unhappy. It was an unintentional lesson that his younger self had taken to heart. Now, however, he was over it, and the pendulum was swinging back the other way, perhaps too far. An overcorrection, as they would say. He leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want to make her pay. Absolutely destroy her like she destroyed me." Vince leaned back. His grin widened. "California's a community property state, Tom. She gets half. Assets, debts, everything, unless we outmaneuver her. You ready to play dirty?" "The dirtier the better," Tom replied. His blue eyes were cold. But as Vince laid out the plan to drain savings and pile debt, Tom's resolve wavered. Was this him? He'd always been the guy who balanced the books, not cooked them. Late that night, alone in what used to be their bed, he stared at the ceiling. Claire's side was cold and empty. Destroying her felt right, vengeance for her betrayal. Fantasizing about it sent euphoria through his soul, but it also felt like sinking to her level. He imagined her face when the papers hit. Her shock, her tears. Would it heal him, or just leave him hollow? He punched the pillow, torn between rage and doubt. Ultimately, it was the mind movies, the image of her with that guy in the back of a Toyota that pushed him forward. She'd chosen this. He'd make her pay. Vince pulled out a legal pad and scribbled as he spoke. "Here's the playbook. First, the savings total $120,000, right? You've got that LCL from your spreadsheet gig. We'll drain the joint account into it in small chunks, $15,000 and $20,000 at a time, invoiced as consulting fees to a shell company I'll set up. From there, it hops to a buddy's firm in Nevada, untraceable, then offshore to the Caymans. I've got a guy there who'll bury it in a trust under a fake name. The paper trail's a nightmare. She'd need a forensic accountant and a miracle to find it." Tom nodded. A slow burn of satisfaction grew in his chest. "And the house?" "3-bedroom ranch, $450,000 value, $200,000 mortgage," Vince said. He tapped his pen. "We double down. Take a second mortgage for $200,000 and call it home improvements. The bank won't care. Your credit's gold. Cash goes to the LLC, then offshore. The debt stays community. She's on the hook for half. I'll draft a fake contractor bid for a new roof and kitchen reno to cover the story if she digs." "Credit cards?" Tom asked. He leaned in. Vince chuckled. "My favorite part. Joint Visa and Amex have a $50,000 limit combined. Go wild with 55-inch OLED TVs, a Rolex Submariner, top-shelf whiskey, and even a riding mower if you want. Sell it all cash under table on eBay or Craigslist. I've got a guy in Roseville who moves stuff fast. Keep some Amazon gift cards for yourself. They're untraceable. Rack up the balance and let the statements pile up in both your names. Community debt means she's stuck with half. Tom exhaled. His decision was firm. Let's do it. Over the next 3 months, Tom became a machine. The savings drained first. $15,000 wired to the LLC on Monday, $20,000 Thursday. Each transfer was backed by a vague invoice, consulting, data analysis. By week's end, $120,000 sat in a Nevada account under Silver Peak Solutions. Then it vanished to the Caymans, locked in a trust called Horizon Holdings. Vince's contact sent a confirmation email. Funds secure. Good luck. The house was next. Tom filed the second mortgage online and uploaded a forged bid from Sacramento Home Pros for $200,000 to cover a roof replacement and kitchen overhaul. The bank wired the cash to the joint account. Tom siphoned it to the LLC, then offshore within 48 hours. The mortgage statements doubled and were addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds. The credit cards were almost fun. Tom hit Best Buy and bought 2 $3,000 TVs and a Bose soundbar. Then he went to a jeweler for a $12,000 Rolex. At Total Wine, he grabbed $2,000 in single malt scotch. Home Depot ate $5,000 in tools and gift cards. He sold the TVs and watched to Vince's Roseville guy for $10,000 cash. The scotch to a poker buddy for $1,500. The tools he dumped on Craigslist and pocketed $3,000. The gift cards, worth $2,000, he stashed in a drawer. The statements ballooned, $48,000 due, joint liability, but each purchase tightened the knot in his chest. At Best Buy, he lingered by the TVs and imagined Claire's reaction. Would she laugh at his pettiness or cry at the betrayal? Driving home with the Rolex glinting on his wrist, he wondered if he was losing himself in this scheme. He sold it the next day. The cash was heavy in his pocket, but the weight didn't lift. Was he punishing her or himself? Claire didn't notice. Her social media posts rolled in. Claire Free Spirit wrote, "Living my truth," with selfies alongside Jessica at bars, her arm around a new guy weekly. One night, she met Ryan, a musician with dark eyes and calloused fingers, at a dive bar. They ended up at his cramped studio. His guitar was propped against the wall as they spent time together. It was intense, but hollow. She lost herself in it until afterward, lying in his cigarette-scented sheets when the guilt crashed in. She thought of Tom's gentle hands and his soft good nights. Tears pricked her eyes. "This isn't me," her heart screamed. But Jessica's voice countered, "You're unshackling yourself. Men don't own you." She clung to the lie and texted Jessica, "Another night of freedom." Jessica replied, "That's my girl. Keep breaking the chains." Claire stared at the ceiling. Ryan's arm was heavy across her waist. She whispered, "I'm strong. I'm enough." But the words rang false. She hated herself for needing them. 3 months later, the divorce papers hit Claire at Jessica's loft. She tore them open, her face drained as she read. "He's divorcing me?" she gasped. She collapsed onto the couch, hyperventilating. "No, no, no! This isn't happening!" She grabbed her phone with trembling hands and dialed Tom. When he picked up, her voice broke through sobs. "Why? We could have fixed it." Tom's tone was flat and cold on the other end. "Claire, don't insult me. There's nothing left to fix." She clutched the phone tighter. Her breathing was ragged. "No, Tom, you don't get it. I wasn't throwing us away. I was trying to save myself. You don't understand what it's like to be trapped, to feel like your whole life is just serving someone else's routine. I needed space, freedom." Jessica opened my eyes to how women have been oppressed forever. Marriage, monogamy, it's all a cage. I wasn't abandoning you. I was breaking free from that. Tom let out a bitter laugh. The sound cut through her words. "Freedom? That's what you call messing around with other guys while I'm sitting at home wondering where you went? You're not breaking free from anything, Claire. You're just chasing Jessica's nonsense because it makes you feel special, You didn't need space. You needed attention and validation from other men. That's not fair, Claire shouted. She stood up, pacing the loft's hardwood floor. You think I'm just some selfish person? I was suffocating, Tom. You and your perfect little life, your schedules, your quiet nights. It was killing me. I deserve to live for myself, not just as your wife. Feminism means I get to choose who I am, not be defined by you or anyone else. Choose who you are. Tom's voice hardened. You chose to be Jessica's lapdog. You didn't fight oppression, Claire. You fought me, the guy who paid the bills while you blew our money on her bar tabs. You're not a revolutionary. You're a narcissist who thinks living your truth excuses screwing over everyone who cared about you. That's not freedom. It's selfishness with a hashtag. Claire's chest heaved. Tears streamed down her face. You're twisting it. I didn't want to hurt you. I just couldn't keep pretending I was happy in that box you built. Women are told we have to be good little wives, to sacrifice everything for men. I refused to be that slave anymore. I needed to explore, to find out who I am outside of you. Why can't you see that? Because it's a lie, Tom snapped. You didn't explore anything but a bunch of meaningless relationships. You didn't find yourself. You found validation from men other than your husband. You talk about slavery? I was the one chained to you, cleaning up the mess while you played martyr. You didn't need freedom from me. You needed someone to abuse, and I was a convenient target. Tom shuddered, catching his breath. You took the love that I had for you, our intimacy, and fashioned it into a weapon to gut me because you wanted to feel better about yourself. You want to talk about choice? Well, here's a news flash. I get a choice too, and my choice is to stop letting you abuse me. Stop it, Claire's voice cracked. She sank back onto the couch, clutching a pillow to her chest. You're making me sound shallow, like I don't have a soul. I was lost, Tom. Jessica showed me I could be more than your shadow. I wanted to be whole, not just half of you. That's not narcissism. That's survival. Tom paused. His silence was heavy. Whole. You were whole with me until you let Jessica convince you you weren't. Survival? You survived just fine on my paycheck while you chased your truth. You didn't need more, Claire. You wanted more, and now you've got it. Congratulations. Claire sobbed harder. Her words stumbled out between gasps. I didn't mean for this. I thought I could have both, you and me, my way. I didn't want to lose you. I just couldn't breathe in that life anymore. Why couldn't you fight for me instead of against me? I did fight, Tom said. His voice was low and final. I fought to keep us steady while you tore it apart. You chose this, Claire. Now live with it. He hung up. She dropped the phone. It clattered on the coffee table. Her hands covered her face as she curled into the couch, wailing. The divorce papers lay scattered beside her. Jessica's voice echoed in her mind. You're a goddess, not a wife. But Tom's words cut deeper. Was he right? Was it all just selfish noise? She clutched the pillow tighter, torn between the feminist ideals she'd clung to and the sinking realization that maybe, just maybe, she was the monster her conscience had been screaming at her all along. The courtroom was a gray box of despair, flickering fluorescents, scuffed linoleum, the faint smell of stale coffee. Claire sat with Greg, her budget lawyer. His suit was wrinkled, his notes a mess. Tom sat with Vince, sharp and poised. His tie was a crisp slash of red. The judge, a grizzled man in his 60s with a permanent frown, shuffled the filings. Community Property Division, he growled. Mr. Moretti, go. Vince stood. His demeanor was smooth as oil. Your Honor, Thomas Reynolds was abandoned by Claire Reynolds 3 months ago. She moved out and pursued extramarital relationships, leaving him with crippling debt. A $200,000 second mortgage for home improvements she never supported, $48,000 in credit card bills from her lavish spending. Joint savings of $120,000 were lost to failed investments. We seek an equitable split of assets, the house and debts. Greg leapt up. His tie flapped. Objection! Fraud! He's hiding assets. That savings didn't vanish." Vince slid a thick folder forward. "Documentation, Your Honor. LLC transactions, investment losses, wire receipts. Silver Peak Solutions ate the savings. The market crashed. The mortgage bids here from Sacramento Home Pros for $200,000. Credit statements show purchases, TVs, jewelry, sold to cover bills. It's all legal." The judge skimmed and looked unimpressed. "Mr. Hensley, evidence?" Greg fumbled and waved a bank statement. "We're investigating. The LLC is a shell. The timing's too perfect." "Proof, not theories," the judge snapped. "The law's clear, counselor, 50-50 split. The house is valued at $450,000 with $400,000 in mortgages, leaving $50,000 equity. Debts total $248,000. Mrs. Reynolds gets $25,000 equity and $124,000 debt. Mr. Reynolds gets the same." Claire's breath hitched. Her voice rose. "What? I owe $124,000? There's nothing left." She turned to Tom. Her eyes were wild. "You did this. You hid it all. The savings, the house. You left me with nothing. You jerk!" Tom sat still. His hands were folded, a flicker of that sheepish smile on his face. Vince cut in. "She abandoned the marriage, Your Honor. She can't expect a bailout." "Abandoned?" Claire shrieked. She stood, her chair scraping. "I was finding myself. You slimy person, Tom. You planned this. 8 years and you robbed me blind? I'll be bankrupt." Tears streamed as she pointed, shaking. "You're a thief, a coward." The judge banged his gavel. "Mrs. Reynolds, sit, or it's contempt." She collapsed, sobbing. Greg patted her arm uselessly. The judge droned on. "Divorce granted. Property split as stated. Next case." Claire drove to Modesto that night. Her Prius rattled, her life packed in a suitcase. Her parents' ranch-style house loomed dark. The porch light cast a weak glow. She knocked. Her mother, Ellen, opened the door, her gray hair pulled tight, eyes sharp. Her father, Bill, lingered behind, silent. "I'm broke," Claire whispered. She stepped inside, the familiar smell of pine cleaner hitting her. "Tom took everything. I owe $124,000. Ellen's face hardened. "Sit." They settled in the living room. The old floral couch sagged under Claire. Bill stared at the floor, hands clasped. "Explain," Ellen said. Her voice was like steel. Claire recounted it the last few months of her life. Jessica's ideas, the freedom, the divorce, the debt. "I thought I was reclaiming myself," she finished. Her voice broke. Ellen leaned forward. Her eyes blazed. "Reclaiming? You and that Jessica call this feminism? It's self-entitled garbage, narcissism dressed up as liberation. You had a husband, a home, a life, and you let that leech talk you into torching it. She used you. She always used you. Helped herself to your money, exploited your gullibility. Your father and I warned you so many times about that girl, but you just lapped it up. Now you're here, tail between your legs, expecting what? Pity? A handout?" "I didn't expect," Claire started, but Ellen cut her off. "No, you didn't think. Your father and I raised you better. Tom wasn't perfect, but he was steady, loyal. He loved you so much. And you traded it for what? And Jessica? She's a parasite, always has been. What's your plan now? Live off us?" Claire's father, Bill, finally spoke. His voice was quiet. "We'll help with a room, Claire. But this mess, it's yours." Claire nodded. Tears spilled. The weight of her mother's words crushed her. She retreated to her old bedroom. The walls were covered with faded posters, and she laid down on her old, creaky childhood bed. She stared at the ceiling, replaying every choice. The men, the bars, the hollow rush. It wasn't freedom. It was a lie she'd sold herself, and now she was paying for it. Tom, meanwhile, moved on. He met Lydia at a work event. She was a gentle, quiet woman with striking red hair and a warm laugh. A teacher who loved his quiet humor and, instead of doom-scrolling TikTok, spent her free time reading, writing, knitting, and scrapbooking. If she had one social media vice, it would be that she followed lifestyle influencers who had lots of kids. She liked kids. One night, over dinner at their new place, he told her about Claire. "I'm not proud of it, but I tore her apart in the divorce," he admitted. He poked at his steak. "I did some really awful things. Hid money, piled on debt, practically left her destitute." Lydia studied Tom's face. He looked genuinely upset. The story he was telling seemed so far removed from the charming and gentle man she'd come to love over the last year. Lydia squeezed his hand. "She hurt you, Tom. You protected yourself." Tom gave her a feeble smile. "Thanks. But it was wrong. She betrayed me so badly, but my reaction wasn't to that betrayal. It was a culmination of things in my life. It was me lashing out at a lifetime of feeling hemmed in by things out of my control." Lydia nodded. She understood most of Tom's background, his childhood, the changes he'd made. Something occurred to her. "I find it kind of ironic that Claire's finding herself caused you to, well, actually find yourself." He nodded. "In a way, I can't even be too mad at her. A lot of it I brought on myself by being so avoidant. I guess it's true what they say." Lydia raised an eyebrow while her fork chased a potato on her plate. Tom made a theatrical cough. "That which doesn't kill you makes you stronger." 2 years later, at a mutual friend's wedding in Napa, Claire stood by the bar. She held a gin and tonic, her dress a simple black shift. Her heart caught in her throat when she saw Tom enter with a striking redhead. The woman was tall and elegant, her hair cascading in soft waves, her smile warm as she clung to his arm. Claire's chest tightened. She watched them from across the room, her fingers gripping the glass. They split apart after a moment. Tom headed toward some old friends near the dance floor, while the redhead moved toward the bar. Claire shifted her stance, pretending to study the drink menu, but the woman stopped beside her anyway. She ordered a glass of wine and turned with a bright grin. "Weddings are the best, aren't they?" the redhead said. Her voice was light and friendly. "All this love in the air makes me think about my man. I never thought I would see someone and just instantly know he's the one. He's just so kind and sweet and thoughtful. He's going to be the best dad someday." Claire forced a smile. Her mind raced. This woman was obviously in love with her ex-husband. It hurt. She glanced toward Tom, now laughing with his buddies, and her stomach twisted in knots. The redhead giggled as she sipped her wine. "Helps that he's damn good-looking, too." Claire offered a faint chuckle. "Yeah, he sounds really great. A real keeper." The redhead laughed, oblivious. "Right? Last week he built a bookshelf from scratch just because I mentioned needing one, and he's so sweet, always checking in, making sure I'm happy. I could gush about him all night. Do you know someone like that?" "Yeah," Claire murmured. Her throat tightened. "I used to. He's one of a kind." The redhead tilted her head, her smile faltering slightly as recognition crossed her face. "Wait, used to? Oh, you must mean Tom. You're Claire, aren't you?" Her eyes widened with surprise. "I'm Lydia. I didn't realize. He's told me about you." Claire's breath hitched. She nodded, caught off guard. "Yeah, that's me." Lydia's expression softened, a mix of surprise and sympathy. "Well, you're right. He is great. I'm lucky to have him." She hesitated, then added, "Sorry, I didn't mean to ramble. I'll let you enjoy your drink." She excused herself and rejoined Tom across the room. Claire grabbed another gin and tonic. Her hands shook slightly as she took a sip and lost herself in thought. It was some time later when she wandered toward the patio and bumped into Tom near the exit. "Hey," Tom said. His tone was neutral, his blue eyes steady. "Hey," Claire echoed, softer and wistful. "You look good, Tom. Happy?" Tom was a little taken aback by Claire's less than combative tone. It wasn't how he remembered her. "I might be underselling it, but yeah, I think I am. You?" "Barely," she admitted. She stared at her glass. "I've had time to think. Too much, maybe. I messed up. Jessica, social media, all that noise preyed on me and fed this entitled streak I didn't see. I thought I deserved more, but I had it already. I burned it down." Tom nodded, quiet, letting her speak. "But you?" She hesitated and met his gaze. "You didn't fight me, Tom. You never pushed back. Not on Jessica. Not on anything. You just nodded and let me drift. It's not your fault I chose it, but you made it easy. You weren't a wall I had to climb. You were a door I walked through. Maybe if you'd been louder, I'd have stopped." He exhaled. A flicker of regret showed in his eyes. "Maybe. I didn't know how to fight that. I fixed things, not people. You chose, Claire. I reacted." "Yeah," she said. Her voice broke. "And you burned me good. Maybe I deserved it. Maybe we both messed up just differently." Tom looked off into the distance and spoke, softly at first, but building in both volume and firmness as he continued. "That was a pretty low thing of me to do, but I was lashing out at what I realize now was a lifetime of emasculation and emotional abuse. It's why I was so passive in our relationship, why I was so afraid to have my own boundaries. I didn't think I deserved them, didn't think that they'd matter. Then, despite all that, my nightmare happened anyway. I found out that I was disposable." Claire went to say something, to tell Tom that she never thought he was disposable, but he silenced her with a raised hand. "It's funny, Claire. I think out of the two of us, I was the one that really found myself. I had to grow up, learn how to be a man and not a little boy. I'm not proud of what I did, and the me in front of you right now would probably never have done it, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm sorry for it. At the time, I needed you to understand even a small fraction of the pain and abuse you forced me to suffer. It was the only way I could find my way to forgiving you." Silence hung between them, heavy, but not bitter. Unshed tears were brimming at the corner of Claire's eyes. She wanted to grab him, to hold him, to hug him, to tell him that she forgave him too, but she couldn't. It wouldn't be right. "Take care," Tom said. He gave Claire one last lingering look and then turned to Lydia, who waved from the dance floor. "You too," Claire whispered to his departing back. She watched him go. She glanced at them, Lydia laughing, Tom steady beside her. She saw the life they'd build, warm, solid, the one she'd once craved before she let Jessica and her own narcissism unravel her. She finished her drink, alone. The music was a distant hum. The price of her freedom had been high indeed. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.